If you love wildlife and you want to go on safari, you are in the right place. My name is Hayden Turner. Welcome to Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Welcome to Safari Live. Magnificent South Africa and Nkuhuma Game Reserve I am right at the moment. My name's Hayden Turner and welcome to a special edition of Safari Live, a special school edition. South Wales schools in Australia that's watching. It's so good to have you on board. I can't tell you how excited I am that this has all come together, and thank you to everyone that has brought it together. Wherever you're watching right now, you're actually live in Africa. We've just got an elephant over here that Brian was just pictured on there and had beautifully framed up. Look at here. Youngster there just feeding away in the cool of the morning. It's about 12 degrees Celsius at the moment. I'll just get the Fahrenheit for you and convert that. But welcome everyone, and particularly all the kids watching around New South Wales. So it's about 54 Fahrenheit for people in the States and anyone else that's watching, but a special schools edition, which I just think is absolutely fantastic that we can bring you this live from the magnificent Sabi Sands in South Africa here. So this elephant's just having a little bit of a feed here on some special things, some roots and some leaves and bark of the particular species that it's on. But it's very dry here at the moment, everyone, so the elephants are pushing over a lot of trees and really eating the tender shoots that they can. We had elephants all around our camp last night. Elephants pushed over the gate to our final control area last night, so there's a lot of ellies around. But you know what I think we should do? We should just sit with this boy for a little bit longer and just watch him whilst the sun comes up, and Brian will pan around to that just now to show you this magnificent sunrise. It's absolutely beautiful here in South Africa. 12 degrees. It doesn't feel that cold, actually. We're all rugged up nicely, and we're broadcasting live from our Land Rover and into your schools. So any questions you've got, please email them to us. The teachers will have all the email addresses, and our directors will read them out to us. I've got Brent Leo Smith in another vehicle and the wonderful Jamie Patterson on a bushwalk this morning, guys. So that's going to be coming to you live. And our wonderful camera operator on the vehicle at the moment, a great friend, Brian Joubert, is going to be bringing you these beautiful pictures. So we might move on and see if we can find something very special for you, because last night we left a magnificent creature, and we're going to go and try and find her and her babies for you. So any questions you've got, shoot them through to us. We'll answer as many as we possibly can. We can't always answer every single one, as you know. I think I just got a question, our first question from Mr. Can you just repeat, please? Mr. Root from Dolphin Galandra School, I think it is. I hope I got that right. Wants to know how old that elephant is. Sorry, I just started the car and Brian came back around to me. That elephant's probably about 5 years, maybe 6 or 7 years, even maybe a little bit older. A little bit hard to tell. It's always a bit of guesswork with elephant, but the older they get, you know, we're looking at animals that live up to about 60, 65 years in the right conditions. And a youngster, a young bull, he's just here on the edge of a herd. There's a lot more elephant beyond this one in the thick of the bush there, and we heard them as we were sitting waiting to go live this morning. And what he's doing right there is just kicking up a few roots with his foot, and elephants will do that. They'll kick up roots, they'll push the tree over, they'll eat the tender, moist particular parts of the tree that they fancy, and it's a bit like a buffet for an elephant, but at the moment, unfortunately, there's not a lot of else to choose from other than the trees that are here. So you can see you can just see how he's using his trunk and his feet there, and he'll also use their tusks, and they'll also use the middle of their head to push over the tree with that great strength. We are looking at the most adapted herbivore, and everyone probably knows. If you don't know what a herbivore is, kids, ask your teachers right now, and you can have a little chat about that. Talk about what herbivores are and what carnivores are, but for people that have done that in whatever stage you're at school, isn't that fantastic? He's digging up with his foot there right now. Herbivores, and that might be a nice discussion for you to talk about right now. So we're going to move on, and we'll leave this boy in peace. Thank you very much, Mr. Ellie. Lovely to be with you. We're going to just drive up this road now a little bit further. So what we might do whilst we're driving up here is I'm going to introduce you to an amazing guy, and wonderful, also another camera operator, Brent Leo Smith and VM on camera, and they're going to go off looking for another really fantastic creature. It's so exciting to have us looking around, them looking around, and Jamie Patterson on foot, broadcasting live. We'll see you just now.
Well, good morning to a spectacular dawn here in the African bushveld. As HT said, my name's Brent and I have the incredible VM on camera. And we are in search of the largest carnivore in Africa. So we're busy trying to figure out where a big pride of lions went. There are 5 females and about 8 cubs in the pride at the moment. So last night we had them very close to where we are. So we've just done a circle. What I'm doing is looking for their footprints, and so we can try to figure out where they went. And of course, as you know, please ask us questions. And it's great to have all those schools on board for Taronga's centennial year, and very exciting to be able to help breeding the next generation of maybe game rangers, conservationists, and just general nature lovers. A very good morning to Lara, who is at Chittaway Bay Public School. And Lara is wondering, how do we get so close to the animals? Well, Lara, it's a combination of things. Safaris have been going on in this part of South Africa since the late 60s. So the animals are quite used to the vehicles, but also if you drive very carefully and very respectfully around the animals, they let you get close. And often it's much better if you switch off, you let the animal come close to you rather than you forcing yourself into the animal space. But hopefully we'll be able to show you some lions nice and close in not too long. So what I'm doing at the moment, and you'll see me use the light on the road, it's not so I can see where I'm going, it's so I can see the lion's footprints, and then we're going to follow the lion's footprints till we hopefully find the lions. Now they can move quite big distances, but I'm hoping that they didn't last night. Now here we've got an animal that would like to avoid lions at all cost. And at about 1 o'clock this morning I heard these animals snorting in this area, which makes me think the lions were around. So that is the impala. And impala is the most common antelope we get here. Incredible creatures. So what we want to hear from an impala in a morning like this is a snort to tell us that the lions are around. They are looking a bit nervous, which could be a good sign for our lion hunt. Oopsie. Hi, Miss Shafay, who's at the Junction Public School. Miss Shafay would like to know, how long have I been out in the bush looking for animals and tracking, etc.? Well, Miss Shafay, I've been quite lucky. I've had an unusual upbringing. So I can say I've been looking for animals professionally as a job for about 15 years. But I've grown up in the African bush. And can you believe it that when I was small, my school used to travel around with me. So I was very lucky. We had a teacher who used to live with us in the African bush. And she only taught my brother and myself. And my dad's quite an interesting character. So what he said to us when we got the teacher to move out to the bush with us, and he said to it, boys, well, it's your school, and what time would you like to start school? And we said 5 a.m. The poor teacher nearly fell off her chair and negotiated to 5:30. But we used to be done with school by 9:30, and then we'd be out into the bush with the anti-poaching guys, with the game rangers, with the trackers. So I've been very, very lucky and very fortunate that I've spent the majority, or almost all of my life in the African bush. Okay, so the lions were just over here last night, so let's look carefully for footprints. Now Wiem, who's my cameraman today, is also very good at spotting lions and lion footprints. So hopefully between the two of us, we're going to find you a big cat. So I keep scouring the African bush for lions. Let's go see how HT is doing in the south.
So Brent's amazing. If there's anyone that's going to find lions, it's going to be Brent. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. But this is a collaboration. This is a joining of two organisations, WildEarth and Taronga Zoo, where I'm working back at, and I've got a great privilege to come out here and bring this to you guys. So it's very, very exciting for me. And Brent was just talking about his childhood. Well, Taronga played a huge role in my childhood, and one of the reasons I'm doing exactly what I'm doing right here is because Taronga inspired me. I'm not going to talk about me much anymore here, but you can ask questions later on if you want, or you can always ask questions by getting in contact with the zoo, and I'll try and get you emails when I get back. More importantly, let's go and find some animals. We've just had to go all the way around. Brian, what do you reckon, down this way? Yeah. We've had to go all the way around. We were on our way to see if we could find a special creature that I'm going to keep you in suspense with. But there was a lot of elephants right in the middle of the road, so we had to go all the way around. Now I just want you to keep your eyes open as well, because I've got another special friend on this vehicle. He appears sometimes, I don't always see him, but he appears and he sometimes walks across the bottom of the screen. You let me know if you've seen him, okay? He's a very, very special friend, but I don't get to see him very often, but I always miss him. Tell me if you see him, okay? Let's see if we can find this special creature as well. So we've just got a question from Miss Shafay in the Junction Public School. Welcome aboard, everyone. Great to have you. I want to hear a big shout out from you from Australia. Everyone in the class can yell out. Oh yeah, we got that, Brian, didn't we? Absolutely. Fantastic. You know what? You are asking what is the most elusive animal that we don't see very often here. Well, you know, I often think it's African wild dog. When they are here, we see them and it's absolutely spectacular, very exciting. Sometimes they're hunting for their food. So African wild dog's one of them, but the other one is cheetah. In the big cats, we don't see them a lot, but when we do, it's very, very special. And then there's another animal that's really, really endangered, and it's called a pangolin. Now, Taronga supports a pangolin species in Indonesia called the Sunda pangolin, but we've got an African pangolin as well, and maybe you can have a little bit of an investigation on the internet or with your teachers about why pangolins are so threatened and so endangered. But they're probably the animals, Ms. Shafay, and great question. Thanks for joining us. So we're heading down the road now. The mornings, there's elephants everywhere around here. I've got to be very careful, guys, because we need to make sure that we respect every animal that we come across, whether it be an impala or a small insect. We have to make sure we respect all those animals. And do you know what? I'm not sure if you've done food webs or food chains at school yet, but when you do, or if you do, again, ask your teachers, and you can have a little talk about where every animal and every plant fits into a special system. And as soon as you take away one of those things, everything starts to crumble. So it's really important. It's not just the big things like the elephant, it's the little things as well. Really, really important stuff. So we're going across a dam wall now. What a great question we've got from Alex in Camaray Public School, just up the road from where I live, Alex. So good to have you on board, guys, and thank you very, very much for watching. And your question is the African landscape similar to Australia? Well, I have to tell you, it really, really is. Many times I'm driving along, Alex, and I see so many similarities, you know, and again, because we've only got 1 hour, I won't go into too much detail, but I'm going to, you know, maybe give you suggestions that you can follow on with your teachers and do a little project on and find out why the landscape's so similar. And all I'm going to say is the word Gondwana land. If you have a look at on the internet or talk to the teachers about where all the land masses split millions and millions of years ago, you'll start to see how everything fitted together. And you know, as we drive around, the landscape is very, very similar. Just the animals are different, you know. Australia got all these incredibly unique marsupials and other creatures. Africa, again, a completely different group of animals. But Alex, thank you so much for being on board. So really make sure that today, anything that you want to follow up, you get a little project going. You can always get more information off the Taronga website as well, and talk to our education department for any ideas. You might want to do an in situ program at your school about maybe one of your threatened species around your area. So really great questions, guys. Keep them coming. Let's see if we can find our little special friend. Let's just see if we can find our special friend here. Brian, I've got Brian on as our camera operator here, and Brian's got another set of eyes in the sky because he's up a little bit higher than me. So it's just Brian and I on the vehicle, and Brian can see a little bit higher than I, and it's great to have another set of eyes. But we're looking for something very, very special here. And let's see if we can find her. The great thing about what we're doing right now is hopefully, and all the kids in the cities that are watching and all the kids in not so close to cities in remote areas are watching, and this is the great thing about Safari Live. We can bring you this safari right into your schoolroom, and I really, really hope that you follow us and you follow the guys here, because when I come back to Australia, there'll be other amazing people doing this. Brent Leo Smith, Jamie Patterson, and James Hendry, and lots of other people. But oh, look at this. Yes, 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 yes. So exciting. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how excited I am. Oh, have a look at this. This is brilliant. Wow. Oh, my friends. We just found Karula and her cubs. Oh, I'm so excited. Guys, we are looking at a magnificent, very famous female leopard with her 2 cubs. I tell you, I can't explain to you kids how excited I am for you. This is a wild African leopard with her 2 7-month-old cubs. Look how beautiful they are. And they're playing at the moment. They're also keeping a keen ear open because Karula, she got some food for her babies yesterday, and she hunts. So you know what? Sometimes the bush is a little bit harsh, and we might find it a bit harsh. But all the animals have to eat, and these animals are carnivores, so they eat meat, and they can eat anything from. They also can eat insects sometimes when times are tough, but leopards are probably the most adaptive cat in Africa. Now, when I mean adaptive, if you don't know what that word means, ask your teachers as well. And I mean, it basically means that they can really survive in very, very different habitats. And habitats is just places where the animals live. So as long as there's lots of food around, and if times get tough, they'll eat small things, but if the food is available, like bigger things like impala or different antelope, they'll also eat those. And yesterday, she got an impala for her babies, and they've had a big feet on that. They've got full bellies. That we are sitting here with Karula, and she, as I said, is a very, very famous leopard. Ah, this is just the best. Isn't that beautiful, guys? Just magical stuff. So this is what we do out here. So we've got a question from Nick Stark in Lupus Garden School. Welcome aboard, guys, and thank you very, very much for joining us this morning on this live safari. And you're looking at Karula at the moment. You want to know what leopards eat. Well, just sort of carrying on from what I was saying, they have a very, very broad diet. They can take anything from, you know, a small reptile, or even been known to eat crickets in some parts, to right up to small giraffe. I mean, there's been some incredible footage of that in some parks very close to here. So they eat a broad range of things, but mainly their prime food around here is antelope. There's an antelope called an impala. There's another antelope called a kudu, a young one they'd probably take. There's also some smaller antelope called duiker and steenbok, and also warthog. So, you know, there's a food chain that works. These are called an apex predator, and for people that aren't sure what that is, and if you're not doing that at school at the moment, then the teachers will explain to you what that means in simple terms. But if you are working in right up in the top end of your biology, apex predators are the predators that are at the top, and then there'll be a food chain that occurs right down underneath those apex predators. And then you might be also wanting to maybe design a food web at school together, and that might be a really great thing to do with your class as well. So thank you very much for your question, and that's what leopards eat. But wow, what a sighting we have here on our beautiful leopard. And she is just so beautiful to see, and she's so comfortable with us. Now that's something else, kids, that I want to explain. Why don't they run away? They don't run away because we are no threat to them. They are very comfortable with us. This leopard here has known us for over 10 years, and she is very, very comfortable with us being here and her cubs. But she's sitting there keeping a close eye out, and those cubs were born on the 2nd of February this year, so I can't quite see where they are. Brian, do you think we should move forward a little bit, mate, and have a look? Mr. Root in Gilgandra Public School, how cool is that? Gilgandra, you're watching a live safari. Great to have you. Give us a shout out. Oh yeah, we heard that from Africa, that's for sure. Fantastic to have you on board, Mr. Root. A great question. How old are they? Karula is about 12 years of age, and the cubs were born on the 2nd of February, so that's really cool. The cubs have gotten to 7 months of age, and that means that there's a really, really good chance that they're going to survive, because sometimes the cubs can fall victim to other predators, which is quite sad, but at the same time, it's part of life in the bush, and at this age, there's a good chance, but she's also a fantastic mother. Mr. Root in Gilgandra Public School, welcome aboard. We're just going to reposition so I can see if I can get some pictures of the babies for you. It's okay, my girl. Just going to drive over here. I think the cubs are just down in this little... Okay, whilst we're doing that, I'm going to reposition because it's a bit noisy. We're going to go over and see someone very, very special. Jamie Patterson is on bushwalk. We'll see you just now.
Good morning and welcome to the amazing African bush. My name is Jamie and the man holding the camera, his name is Gendre. Now it's all fine and well being out in the vehicle and getting to see the animals right up close and personal, but there's something very, very special about being out here on foot exploring some of the smaller details that we might get to see out here. And before they all disappear, just have a look at what spent the night in this big open clearing. Some impala wandering about. Now they know that we're here. They've seen us. Obviously I'm not being quiet, but they're not too stressed out. Now generally with our animals out here, they react very, very differently to us on foot than they do to the vehicle. But it does give us an opportunity to get right up close and personal with all of the different things that you can find that you don't necessarily spot from the vehicle. I've been very fortunate in my childhood because although I grew up in a city called Johannesburg, which is one of the biggest cities in the whole wide Africa, or South Africa, I spent lots of time visiting the bush, going out on school camps, and I've just always felt incredibly at home out here wandering about the wild and enjoying the different things that we have. Now, one of the things that we do when we are children in South Africa, and you've got to be careful here, you've got to do it without Jandre stepping on sticks. What you do, so we've seen those impala. If you look closely here, you've got to find some nice poo. This is impala poo. I know it's impala poo because of the shape and the color. You collect some that's nice and dry. I wouldn't advise it with any wet poo. And definitely don't put anything in your mouth that you haven't checked with an adult first. But this is a game that we play in South Africa called Bok Drol Spoeg. And I'll show you how it goes. First of all, okay. And now, what's this? Oh no, that was a pathetic one. One more go. That was a bit better. And the competition is to see that you can spit it as far as possible. Now, don't go and collect fresh impala dung because it's soft and wet and you really don't want that in your mouth. And you only want to do it with herbivore poo. Only herbivore poo is okay to do this with. Definitely, we never touch any of the carnivore poo. So hyena scat, lion scat, leopard scat, that's really gross. This is okay though. No, I'm definitely not going to win this competition. Jandre, would you like to try? Give it a go. There we go. Jandre is going to spit it at me. That was a good shot, Jandre. Our Lucas Garden School, we saw the impala dashing off into the distance. And yes, lions will eat impala. Now, it depends on how many lions you have, because lots of lions need a big meal. That makes sense, doesn't it? If you're lots of lions and you're big, it's like going to a buffet, but then you've got to go and get something like a buffalo. Make sure that you over-cater rather than under-cater. But if you've got 1 or 2 lionesses and they're feeling particularly hungry, then they will eat impala. Now, impala are the most common antelope in our area, so in this particular part of the game reserve, which means that they're a very important food source for all sorts of things, from leopards, cheetah, wild dog, even hyena. Spotted hyena will hunt impala every now and again. And that's particularly true in the next few months when the impala give birth, because then they've got lots of little babies wandering around, which is perfect food because they aren't obviously as fast or as alert as the adults. Now, before we go any further, I have to introduce you to someone, but he's running away. Over there is Herbert. Now, you can see Herbert walking in front of us. Now, Herbert's job is to help us find something, sort of basically a third set of eyes, while Jandre and myself talk to you and film whatever's out here. So Herbert goes ahead, and he is a master tracker, so he is really, his expertise is finding big animals. And he walks ahead to make sure that there's no elephants or lions, or if they are, that we know that they're there so that we don't surprise them or they don't surprise us. It's very important to walk responsibly out here. It's the best feeling in the world when you get to see an animal, a big animal on foot, but it's really, really important that we remember we're in their home and that we must respect them at all times. Now, that's something I know that Hayden feels very, very strongly about, and he's currently sitting with one of our absolutely favorite leopards. Let's go back to Hayden and the Queen of Djuma.
Well, welcome back to Karula, and Kids, I wanted to show you this. I think it's really important that you see how that food chain works. And Karula has gone down to the kill that she made there. And you know what? You might find it a little bit sad here and there, but you know what? It's a very, very important thing that we all understand how that food chain works and how that balance of nature is. So what she's doing there, she's got an impala that she took for her youngsters last night to feed them. And she's just covering it at the moment to try and hide it. One of the youngsters has just walked up to her too, which is really cool. And then she's just giving her a little bit of the baby's playing with her. But I just think it's really important that you see that the natural world happens right before our eyes here in Djuma and in Sabi Sands in South Africa. It happens in your habitats as well, wherever you are in Australia or anywhere else in the world. Animals have to eat, and that food chain is a really, really important thing. So as soon as we take something out of that food chain, lots and lots of other animals are affected. So that little baby leopard is just having a little bit of a sniff around and wanting to have some food, having a bit of a play. So his mum was covering it up because she wants to keep that food there for the babies and make sure no other predators. Now, if anyone can send us an email, one of the schools watching, maybe send us an email and tell me what another predator you think might come and take that impala away from the leopard. Let us know and tell us what you think. Got another question coming through in my earpiece from Ross in Camaray Public School. Welcome aboard again, guys. Thanks for watching. Ross, you want to know what other predators or leopards may have? Well, there's animals that definitely are threats to leopards, that's for sure. And I would say, not in any particular order, but they are hyena and lion. Also wild dog, African wild dog, and if you haven't seen one of those before, have a look up online or maybe some pictures in some books that you've got and check out. Those three animals are the main threats, and they can also be very, very a great threat for their cubs, but they also have a tendency, particularly hyena, steal kills. Now, the leopard, out of all the cats, has one trick up its sleeve, and they can haul their kill. That animal, they could haul that up into the tree and stash it up there, and no other animals can get it. And that's one of the advantages that leopards have, and one of the reasons why they're so successful. They can adapt to so many different environments and hauling their food up into a tree. The reason why it's on the ground there is because she wants to keep it down there for the cubs to feed on. But great question, Ross. Thank you very, very much. Are they still down there, Brian? I think they are. We've got a question from Miss Kylie in Nora Public School. Miss Kylie, I think it is, in East Nora Public School. I think that's what it is. And you want to know Nora Public School. Is it Nowra Public School? Sorry, I'm just getting my message. Yeah, Nowra Public School. I do. Sometimes when it comes to stealing the prey, lions will steal the prey, the kill from the... Oh, look at that, beautiful. But also hyena will do it as well. So we're looking at a leopard at the moment, and this is Karula, we know this leopard very, very well, and she's got her cubs down there. But Miss Kylie, they will have a tendency to keep a very, very close ear and eye out to make sure that hyena or lion don't come and steal that. But sometimes wild dog will do it as well. But she's kept it down in this, what we call a little gully, or a little dry creek bed down there, and the scent wouldn't be travelling as much as it would be if it was up here on the higher ground. I'm just going to try and reposition our car so Brian can get a better shot of her. Let's just move forward a little bit. Got a question from Mrs. Ran in Gorakan Public School. Please excuse me if I don't pronounce the names of your school correctly, but we do our best. And your question is, sorry, let me just move forward again. I've just lost. Oh, it's a bit tricky there. Brian might be able to get down through there. Can you, mate? I'm coming to you, Mrs. Round, I promise. Can you see that? It's a really tricky position for us. I'll just get the question again, please. I do apologise. Okay, are leopards endangered, Mrs. Rand? I'm going to have to go back where we were, bro. I'm sorry, mate. Mrs. Rand, I'm sorry. I'm just negotiating the landscape here to try and get a better picture for you. Are leopards endangered? Well, look, leopards are not endangered. They're probably the most successful of all the cats. But there's some areas that they're probably threatened. I'm just looking for a better shot for Brian here. Is that the best you're going to get, mate? It's a long way, isn't it? I do apologise, folks, but Brian's going to zoom in on that as much as he can. Leopards in some areas would be definitely threatened, and there's particularly leopards in some other parts of... Leopards occur right throughout Asia as well, Mrs. Ran, and maybe you can look that up as a little project about where leopards do occur. There's going to be leopards in pockets of Asia that are definitely threatened and endangered, just because of, well, maybe you could also research that, but I'll give you a couple of hints to why leopards in some areas might be threatened, and that's normally due to habitat loss, and that's one of the most important things we have to learn about. And maybe your class can do a little project about habitat loss and see why some animals do have great threats from their habitat being taken away from them. So that's why protected areas like where we are right now, and protected areas in Australia and all over the world, are so important. But Mrs. Rand, thank you very, very much for your question, and welcome aboard. So we're just looking at this beautiful leopard here right now, Karula and her cubs. She's got her babies and that her food down there, that kill in a very tricky position. Now she's moving off, and she might go into a spot where we get a better picture. We'll just wait for her. The kids the little ones are playing down there. And I'm going to try and... The little ones are playing beautifully. I just got to try and get into a better spot. So just to explain to you where we are, it's we'll just link to Jamie and see what she's got on the bushwalk for us. And I'm going to try and get this vehicle into a better position because I really want to show you these cubs. But let's cross over to her, and we'll see you just now.
Look at what I have found. A giant pile of elephant poo, and just look at the size of it. It's bigger than my head. That's what I wanted to show you, and it's nice and fresh. Now I know this might seem really disgusting, and I promise I'm not totally obsessed with poo, but they are really interesting things to look at out here because it tells you so much about the animal that you might get to see out here. So let's take this as an example. First of all, this is a big animal, clearly, because this is a very, very big poo. But if we look a little bit closer, and I will wash my hands after this, I promise, look a little bit closer at what this animal eats. Grass, lots and lots of grass in here. And then if we look closely, let's see if we can find something else. Here are all the leaves. So it's something that eats grass and trees. And then we know that it's an elephant. But this also tells us something else about the way that the elephant digests its food. Because look how much of this is undigested. It's rough. There's lots and lots of grass still in here. Lots of trees, lots of grass. So an elephant's digestive system works really quickly, but at the same time is very wasteful. That's why elephants need to eat all the time. And they do. They eat all the time. An adult elephant could eat 300 kilograms of food and poop out about 100 to 150 kilograms every single day. Now let's compare it to something else that I just happen to have in my pocket. Let's pop that down. Ew. So gross. It's a little bit gross. That's okay, I'll wash my hands afterwards and no harm done. So if I dig in my pocket and I find some impala poo that I just happen to have, as you do. Okay, so obviously much smaller, but that makes sense. Impala are tiny. But let's break it open. Can I do it with my fingers? Nope. Okay, why don't you look at the pretty sun while I break this open? And Class 2C in the Junction Public School, welcome to our bushwalk segment. Have a look at this. Okay, so obviously I've just broken it open with my teeth, and they want to know what impala poo tastes like. Well, I usually don't chew it, so basically it just tastes like the dirt that is around it, because all I'm doing is putting it on my tongue and then spitting it out. But there, where I bit into it, it kind of just tastes like dirt, to be honest. But what I wanted to show you is, with it like this, as fine as it is, you can tell that an impala has a completely different digestive system to an elephant. And that we know because they're ruminants, which means that they chew their food, swallow it, then bring it back up, chew it again, and then they swallow it, and then they digest it properly. So that's why an impala, for its weight, kilogram for kilogram, needs to eat less than an elephant. So there you go. Nice and fine. And my hands are very dirty, I know, I'm sorry, it's okay. My hands are dirty, and then I go and wash them, and then they get dirty again. So let us leave our impala poo and our elephant poo, because this is actually a really important source of nutrients for something to come along. And give it some thought. What do you think might live in, and you guys live in Australia, so you may well know the answer to this straight away, but what animal would be very, very keen to use some elephant dung as its home or as its food source? Give it some thought. I bet you know exactly what animal it is. Okay, I'm trying to get rid of as much elephant poo as I can off my hands. Right, so we're going into some slightly thicker vegetation, and this is where it's important for us to make sure we pay attention and concentrate and look at the area around us. So while we're walking, we're constantly scanning to see if there's any animals in front of us. And we're thinking about the type of vegetation that we're in, because that will tell us what animal we might find. Now in this particular area, we're going into a drainage line. We're going to go and see what wonderful things we can find. In the meantime, I'm going to send you back over to Hayden, who is still with the wonderful spotted queen.
So guys, we're just still with Karula, and at any minute she may put this kill up a tree. I'm not sure she's going to do it, kids, but she may do it. She's just turned it over. We can't really get a better position than what we're in now, and we're just watching her, still looking after this meal that she's got for her cubs. Now if any of your classes want to do a little project on food chains, that's a really, really good thing to do as well, which we talked about before. And you'll have a look at, see whether the leopard is at the top of the food chain or at the bottom of the food chain, and you tell me. But you also need to get back to me, if anyone can send us an email, about what animal you might think could be a threat to Karula right now, that might steal that food from her and her cubs. Let us know if you can. And the first school to get back to us, we can give you a little shout out live here from Africa. Isn't this fantastic? So while we're watching Karula here, we're going to cross back live to Brent, because he's got some really, really cool creatures that got in our way a little bit this morning, and I'm sure he's going to tell you loads about them. We'll see you just now.
So we've just found a massive herd of elephants, and there's a very big bull in here as well. Now, of course, these are incredibly big creatures. Let's just move forward a bit. And a big elephant bull can weigh about 7,000 kilograms in this area. And we've got a youngish bull on our right here. The big Eddie bull's off to the left. We'll try catch up with him. Hello, mister. Okay. Hello, mister. So this guy's probably about 30 years old. Well, a good morning to Mr. Barksman at Camaray Public School. And he's wondering, what function does an elephant's trunk form? There we go. It's basically like it's an arm. There are over 100,000 muscles in that, and they're incredibly dexterous. They're able to pick up the smallest little leaf or fruit that they're interested in. And there we go, you can see how incredibly powerful it is. Look at that. So he's going to break through. He's eating a leadwood tree. Now, an inside of an elephant's mouth is like an old boot. It's tough. They can munch on the biggest thorns. A very good morning to Mrs. Rant at Borakan Public School. And she's wondering, do female elephants have tusks as well? They do. What I'm going to try to do is zip around. We're going through some thick bush there and catch them on the next open area. And there's a whole bunch of females and babies there as well. But yes, they do. Now, the tusks in females are more used for feeding. They're able to debark trees with them to get to the nutrient-rich cambium layer that transports water and minerals up from the soil, from the roots. And with males, they use it for feeding, but as well as for fighting. Now, females will use their tusks for fighting, but it's a secondary use rather than their primary use. With the males, again, the fighting is obviously far more important, so they have access to females. Okay, now there's probably about 40 elephants in that group. We could only see a few of them on the edge of the bush. So we should be there in a few seconds. There they are. Hold on, bumpity bump. So Miss Pike is wondering, what do you do when an elephant charges you? Well, Miss Pike, it all depends on the exact situation, and it is very, very dependent on the mood of the animals and the situation where you are. Most of the times you can stop an elephant charge with a well-meaning "stop it, naughty elephant" works quite well for me, or tapping the side of the car, making a noise that's unusual. So there is that really big bull, and he's got quite an interesting little adaptation there. Well, not an adaptation, an injury that's caused him to have a floppy ear. Okay, I'm just trying to see. There he goes. And you can see he's absolutely massive. I'm going to try to get us in a position where we can see him next to a female. And you can actually see the size difference between them. So there we go. He's going to walk up to those females there. And you can see how much bigger he is. Now, look at this, quite interesting behavior that's happening here. So that elephant bull is in must. What it means is he's a heightened hormonal period. So he can only mate with a female when he's in must or estrus. He's basically, when she's in estrus and he's in must. So he's trailing the herd, looking for a female. He might be able to smell that there's a female about to be ready to breed. And that's why he keeps following them. Now, it can make the elephants a little bit less relaxed. Especially when there's a big bull. There we go, you can see that she's not too happy, doesn't want the big bull to come too close to her. And they can be very, there we go, see, there could be a bit of trumpeting and screaming. Look at the size of him, he is massive. His head alone probably weighs 1,000 kilograms. Okay. Here comes one more. It's the same little bull that was with us earlier. Good morning to Class 2C at the Junction Public School. great to have you on the back of the world's biggest safari vehicle. Now they're wondering, do elephants always travel in herds, and how many? Not always. The bulls, when they're not looking for ladies, they'll travel by themselves or in small bachelor groups. But the females are almost always in herds, and it's generally a related family group. So there'll be a bunch of females, sisters or aunts or whatnot, and they'll all travel together. And you get little bulls like this, and he's not quite old enough to challenge for mating rights. And they hang around like this one is on the periphery, so just 100 meters or so behind the rest of the herd. And if they get a bit close, sometimes the females get quite upset with them and give them a good disciplining. Okay, so he's going to walk right behind us. Hey, big boy. So he's probably got another couple of years left before he is big enough to challenge the big males. Morning, Miss MacDonald in Bear Cross Public School. And she's asking, can you age elephants? Well, the elephant bulls, it's a bit easier, just from size and indentations in the skull. Cows can be a bit more difficult. Oh, look at that. Look at... Yum, yum, yum. Bush willow for breakfast. Oh, and you can hear in the distance trees being broken and cracked by the rest of the herd. Okay, so we did have some lion tracks and tracks of lions with cubs before we bumped into these elephants. And we're going to keep looking for the lions. And while these elephants continue to have their breakfast, let's go see what fascinating things Jamie has found on foot.
While Brent goes to look for the lions, I actually have quite a good idea as to where they may be. And the reason that I know that is because over there in the direction of the west, I can hear kudu. So it's a very big antelope, and it's making a sound that goes bah, bah. And they do that when they're scared, and they only really do that for lions and leopards. And the lions were just off to the west there. And when I'm finished showing you this, I'm going to go racing with Herbert and Jandre to see whether we can't find what's ever scaring those kudu. And zebra. So the zebra have also been going yip, 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 yip. So I think there's lions hunting over there. So we're going to race across there in a moment. But first, I was telling you that bushwalk is all about seeing the little things. And look at what we've got here. We've stumbled upon a crime scene. Something has come through here and started digging. And that something, I know, did this at night because the soil's still fresh and wet and it's only just first thing in the morning. He stood with one foot here and the other foot over here, and then down here, look at this. You see this imprint? So something with a long tail and very, very sharp claws. So why was this animal digging here? Well, the bodies of his victims are strewn all around here. Look at this. This is what he was after. Let's find a nice example for you. Can you see them there? Termites, a very different species of termites to the ones that build the big termite mounds. Shame one of them is still a little bit alive, and these poor things probably didn't see it coming. So the aardvark came and scraped with its huge claws, digging beneath the surface of the termite mound, and then all of the termites started swarming out, and with his long sticky tongue, he started lapping up the termites. Now, if you ever find yourself lost in the African bush, and I don't think you will, but if you did, termites would be a very good food source. So it's not just aardvarks that can eat termites, we can eat termites as well. And apparently they taste like peanut butter, but I'm not going to eat them right now. Jandre is very disappointed, but I'm not going to eat the termites. We're going to go and investigate the sound of those alarm calls, but while we do that, we've got a long way to go running. We're going to send you back over to Hayden.
Well, our friend, our beautiful girl here, Karula, has moved into a much better... Oh, what's that? That's my little friend, the thumb. Look at him, there he is. He's coming across the bottom of the screen. Yep, that's the little guy I wanted you to look out for. He's going to make an appearance every day for the next 4 days. There he goes. He doesn't come out for very often. The thumb. We've got Karula sitting here, folks, and I'm just so glad that we found her for you, and we've had a fantastic morning with you. Thank you all so much for watching. Jamie is great. She's so incredible. Her knowledge is incredible, and just on Bushwalk, to think that that's live, coming to you live from Africa, and Brent with those Ellies, how wonderful. So great news to have you all on board. There's the little cub. And just to give you a bit of information, it might be a great project for you all to do as well. Find out about how long different animals are pregnant for, or how long it takes for them to have their babies. Now, you'll find some really interesting things if you compare the carnivores to the herbivores, and maybe you can do a little bit of research and do a project on that. So the leopards we have in front of us here, they're pregnant for about 100 days. So you know what, after 100 days, those little babies come out and they're only about 400 to 600 grams. So that's about, I don't know, the weight of about 3 oranges. That's how much they weigh when they're born. Now the cubs are then hidden by the mum for about 6 weeks, and she puts them in either a cave or a little thicket or something like that, and then she sort of moves them over different places over time, and then their eyes open between 6 and 10 days of age, and then they can start to eat meat after that, and then after about 3 months they don't drink milk anymore from their mama, and they start to eat meat, and she brings them to the food that she kills for them, and then it all happens. They start getting bigger and stronger, and then they start to become big leopards. So it might be really good to do a little project on that as well. So really important stuff to find out how these animals work and their habitats and where they live. Now, I've got something really special to do. We had a little idea that we were going to give shout-outs to schools that are watching this morning, so I want to be able to hear your school from Africa. When I read out your school's name, I want you to shout it out so loud that we can hear it, and I want you to cheer and give yourselves a big cheer for watching, and thank you to your teachers for getting this together, for connecting us and getting everything together. So here we go. I'm going to do this as best as I can. Please excuse my pronunciation if I pronounce your school incorrectly, but I'll do my best. So, Lucas Gardens School. Yep, heard you then. Fantastic. Camaret Public School, Wilkins Public School, Malawi Public School, Nowra East Public School, Callahan College, thank you guys, Walls End Campus, Lansdowne Public School, Daceyville Public School, Mona Vale Public School, Roos Public School, The Junction Public School, Gorican Public School, Gilgandra Public School, fantastic guys, Tyala Public School, Beecroft Public School, and Beecroft, Mrs. McDonald, and your class, you got the answer right. What predator would potentially take that kill? Hyena. Beecroft, well done. Fantastic stuff, guys. Oh, I heard that cheer. That's brilliant. Baron Joey Montessori School, Warrimoo Public School, Chittaway Bay Public School, Musselbrook South Public School. Fantastic, guys. Curry High School. Brilliant stuff. A great high school. Camaret Public, Tuggerah Public School, McDonald Arana Heights Public School, Douglas Park Public School, and I've got Beecroft again at the bottom. So, folks, absolutely amazing to have you all on board, and thank you to Taronga Conservation Society and WildEarth for allowing this to happen and collaborating, getting it together so we can broadcast live to you from the African bush. And what this is all about, kids, is learning about why nature is so important. It's incredibly important, and you guys are the little soldiers. You're the soldiers in our army. You're the new recruits coming through that's going to protect our planet. So what you've done today is the first step in making a change, changing behaviour and changing the planet and making it better. I can't tell you how good it has been to have you on board this morning, and I'm going to leave you whilst we go to this beautiful leopard, and you can just have some pictures of her to finish on. New South Wales Public Schools, Taronga Conservation Society, WildEarth, you rock. Right. Well, that was really, really good fun. Really super fun. And some of the schools may be just going now. Their bell would have gone at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Australia. And thank you all the other people that are watching from all over the world, and how, you know, thank you for understanding that that's such a special thing to do for kids. And we're back with you now on our regular, well, I don't know if there's such a thing as regular drive, because every drive is different and every walk is different. So I just want to thank everyone that was listening, that wasn't at school, for listening to the way we spoke, and we got messages across there. So back to our regular sort of chat about this beautiful animal. And so many people, welcome aboard if you're a first timer to Safari Live, and also for all our regular Safari Live viewers, great to have you back on board. So if you've just joined us, we're sitting here with Karula, one of our most famous leopards here in Nkuhuma and Arathusa and Cheetah Plains, and also in Sabi Sand. She's very well known, but she's got two cubs with her who are playing around at the moment, just out of our vision. We're in a very, very tricky spot here to get pictures, and Brian's doing an amazing job. We're doing an amazing job getting the pictures to you. We're going to stick with her. Brent, Leo Smith, and Jamie Patterson are with me this morning, and Brent is on drive and Jamie Patterson is on walk. So I'm going to cross over to Brent and see what he's up to. He's always up to something, and I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. We'll see you just now.
Well, we're following the Nkuhuma Pride. They've crossed into Arathusa. I'm just trying to see where their tracks have gone. So we're on a parallel road at the moment. Okay. Unfortunately, we are very close to the Sibambili boundary with Arathusa. And I'm really hoping the tracks don't come slightly to the north. Herbie just called me, said he thinks he heard them in this area calling. So we're going very slowly. Now, the fortunate thing with all those cubs is just literally a mass of tracks. It almost looks like a herd of impala have crossed. Okay, so them and I sneak slowly through the Arathusa Private Game Reserve looking for lions. Let's go see how Jamie's doing on Shank's pony.
We're going to see if we can't help Brent in tracking down those lions. So while we were standing in the drainage line chatting a little bit to the kids about the aardvark digging that we found, we heard alarm calls off to the west of where we are now. Now, as we've crossed through the drainage and up and following across in that direction, we can hear two of them roaring. Herbert, who of course is the master tracker, and after his demonstration yesterday afternoon, I think it's all safe to say that that is absolutely the case. He is a genius in the bush, and his instincts are absolutely 100% spot on. He says there's a male and female, and that they're somewhere, either on Nkuhuma or on Arathusa, but they're close to the boundary, and that we must go and we must search for the tracks and see if we can't find them. So Herbert's walking ahead, making sure that everything is absolutely safe for us in front, and also so that he can find the tracks and see if we can't find them. And it would be ideal if we could find a male and a female rather than the rest of the lion pride with cubs. How Aubrey, sorry, I'm chuckling. Aubrey is wondering about the message that we passed on to the school kids, and of course my incredibly now dirty hands, which I will wash off. And Aubrey's question, well, why is it safer to touch herbivore dung rather than predator dung? And the answer is yes, it's to do with the bacteria, and it's to do with the parasites that are in predator scat. Predators, because of their diet, they often eat rotten meat. I mean, plant material is relatively inoffensive. Rotten meat, on the other hand, is a little bit offensive, and it also contains worms of all kinds. I mean, if you've ever closely examined lion vomit, Aubrey, which I don't suppose you have, but let's say you had the opportunity to closely examine lion vomit. I realize how weird that sounds now. I didn't mean it to sound quite so strange. But if you've ever had the opportunity to examine lion vomit, you find all kinds of revolting things. In fact, you shouldn't actually, to be completely honest, you actually shouldn't touch lions with bare hands. Even when they're darted and you're dealing with them, which I've been fortunate enough to do, to deal with some relocation of some lions, you use gloves because their saliva, their stomach contents, they're just a seething cesspit of bacteria and parasites. Not their fault. That is just the way it is, and you would rather avoid exposing yourself to that, because if you've got any open cuts, if you touch your eyes, your mouth, it gives me the shivers just thinking about it, because it really is very gross. And scat is no different. Scat, hyena scat, it's actually one of the reasons why you've got to be careful with tortoises as well, particularly old tortoise shells, and even just picking up tortoises in general out here in the wild, which of course we don't do now, because it's the dry season, and in a defense mechanism they actually excrete all of the water that they have stored, so you really don't want to mess with the tortoise at this time of year. But you also don't want to mess with them because they eat hyena dung to supplement their calcium. Hyena scat, actually, if we want to be official about it. They eat hyena scat to supplement their calcium, but as a result actually carry a host of parasites and bacteria. So, an important little lesson: if you're going to pick up a tortoise, wash your hands. If you're going to pick up a terrapin, you're silly, because they really stink. You don't want to do that either. I can't believe how warm I am. Spring is definitely on its way compared to the last walk I did, where my fingers turned blue. Okay, let us see if we can't find where these lions are. Herbert is striding ahead. I think he wants another experience. We were just talking about watching a lion hunt and what that experience might be like on foot, if you can find somewhere safe to watch it. So while we go and attempt that, we're not actually going to attempt that, but while we attempt to look for the lions, Hayden, of course, already has a leopard. Let's go back across to him.
So we've stayed with Karula, folks. I just think it's great to see her in this location. It's a very tricky location, as I mentioned, but she's just moved into a better position for us, particularly to see her. And I'm waiting to see a bit of maternal care and a bit of cub interaction, because they are playing around at the moment, but I think they may come back up to her at some point, which they normally do. She's got a close eye on them, but as the cubs grow older, they sort of venture further afield and start to explore a bit more and gain their skills, whether it be just their athleticism or their training and playing with each other. But they start to venture out and become a little bit more adventurous. But she's keeping a very, very close eye, and just whilst you were with Jamie, she sat up in a very beautiful position to look at a noise that she heard, and it was just a really great demonstration of that keen, incredible sort of feline beauty that she has. And she sat up, and it was not a threat or no danger, so she relaxed again, started grooming herself. So just in case you're wondering where we are, to give you a bit of a location, this is a drainage line, or a sort of dry creek bed down in front of her there, and we are elevated. We're about probably 15 or 20 metres from her up on the level ground, and she has a kill down below that, just over to the right where Brian's moving around now. And what she's been doing is covering it with dirt and leaves, and sort of stashing it down there, which is, some people might find unusual why she doesn't put it up a tree and cache it up a tree. But she's leaving it there for the cubs to eat as and when they please, but also trying to cover the scent of it with that dirt. And as Brian and I came around the corner, she did, you could definitely get a bit of a whiff of it, because she did kill this yesterday morning, or early yesterday morning. So Isn't she just beautiful? Grooming herself. Nearly all cats are very particular about their condition, and they spend a lot of time grooming and looking after themselves. That's such a beautiful, beautiful shot of this leopard. So I'm going to just stick with her, and please, I hope people don't think it's a bit indulgent, but we have been with her for over an hour now, so we're just going to stay with her and see if she does go up this tree and just start to relax. But whilst we're waiting, we'll stick with her and we'll cross over to Brent because he's with another of my favourites, and we'll see you just now.
We're trying to follow line tracks at the moment, but we've hit a large traffic jam, and I really do mean a large traffic jam. And it's the same herd we saw a little bit earlier crossing Triple M, and they've stopped and they're now spread out feeding. So I see if we can see that big bull again. Here he is, with his floppy ear. So they spread out through the bush. There we go, there's that big bull. You can see, oh, he's tall. Nice to have some big Eddie bulls again. Let's just try and move forward a bit. Now we are, of course, on the hunt for lions, but we're never going to say no to a lovely herd of elephants. That female and the big bull might be a bit of upset. Oh, does he stop? Oh, he stopped to feed. She looked like she was going to get upset. She's got a very small calf. You can just make out through the bush there. And sometimes these big musk bulls can be a little bit trying for females who are not in estrus. Okay. Oh dear, we have another traffic jam in the road, and off to the left, 2 young bulls. Addy says, elephants are the best kind of traffic jam. I agree wholeheartedly, Addy. This is definitely my ideal Monday morning traffic at work. Oh, what's going to happen here? Hello. Let's say hello. Here we go, a lovely little greeting between 2 young bulls. Now Michael's wondering, do elephants ever inbreed? And he says he considers it unlikely because of how long the bulls have to wait to mate. But I'm pretty sure they might encounter their natal herd in their wanderings. But elephant bulls can wander vast distances. Look at him using his feet. So look at that, he's kneeling down to get a little bit more purchase to pull that whole root system out. Now, time to use the foot. Hi, Amber in Colorado. Amber is wondering, aren't elephant bulls more aggressive to humans when they're in must? It's M-U-S-T-H. They can be. I don't find them that aggressive. I think it's just all about reading their body language and behavior. It's definitely a heightened hormonal time, so if you do something silly, they're more likely to react. But I don't find them more aggressive at all. There we go. He's got his root. Yum, yum, yum. You can hear him crunching it. Now, unfortunately, the lions don't seem to be roaring again, which is unfortunate. Help us find them a bit more easily. Well, we're not moving anywhere at the moment with being surrounded by ellies. Ah, there we go. Maybe that one's going to let us get a gap. Thank you. So while we keep searching for the Nkuhumas, Jamie's got some striped donkeys.
More specifically, we have the stripes that I think encountered the lion earlier. The reason I say that is, as I said, we had the kudu alarm calling, but we also had zebra going yip, 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 yip from this direction. And I think it's safe to say that these two males... Sorry. I'm listening to what I thought was an elephant, but is not an elephant, in fact. It is an elephant. They're running. Cool, let's go that way. To that termite mound. To go and see what's going on. Uh-oh. Which way are they going? Okay, let's go into the termite mound. What scared them, I wonder? Well, as we've seen before, impala is one option. We saw that the other day. Okay. Let's go up onto the termite mound. The other thing I want to do is just tell them that we're here, because they're panicking. Okay, they have moved off. What was that about, elephants? You okay there, Chandra? Cool. Let's come up here and just see if we can't get a view. You up? Cool. So, just to talk you through what happened there. I thought it was actually... There they go. Can you see them there, Chandra? Okay. Something scared them. Not us. But they were running in our direction, which of course isn't what you want. Must ball. That's what scared them. Okay, so we've taken ourselves up onto high ground. We want to let them know that we're here, in a way, if they would just keep running. Oh, he's pushing them. It's pushing them, pushing them, pushing them. It's a must ball. That's stressing out the elephants. But this is a good place for us to be. We're up high. And you cannot underestimate the advantage that height gives you, particularly with a big elephant. They've stopped to feed, so some of them are relaxed. I'm just keeping an eye on what's going on. So we're in a nice position. We're in the open. We've got about 100 feet between us and the elephants, which is plenty of distance. But I just want to stay here and assess the situation. They're now moving off. Unfortunately for us, the wind is doing a little bit of this today. So what that means is that it's blowing our scent around. We're okay for now, but they're about to walk straight into our scent trail. And they might come and investigate, which is why I think we will stay up here on the termite mound, assess the situation, and then decide from there. So while we wait for our elephants to move off, let's go over to Hayden and the Queen.
So folks, we decided to leave Karula. She went down into that drainage line and we couldn't even see her. There's a tiny little bit of vision. We could see her lying with the cubs, but that's the way it goes. You know, the animals dictate the script and we just follow on. Really, really nice to see her this morning and just be around her, and particularly for the school specials that we did for the first hour. So thank you again for everyone being with us for that. I'm just going to tootle along here and just see what else we can see. I'm heading towards Nkuhuma Dam now, and yeah, I just think kids' education is so important. It's just incredibly important in this day and age for us to use the technology as opposed to shying away from it. Use the technology and try and weave it into the fabric of their future. Get these messages across to them, and if we can change a little person's mind in any way, shape or form, any behaviour, any thought process through Safari Live and all the other things that we do with zoos and other education, other outdoor wildlife education anywhere in the world, all the better, all the better. And I was asking everyone yesterday, so I got a message, sorry I just stopped halfway there because I was getting a question from James Richard. Hi James, how you doing? Great to have you on board as usual, mate. It is, what sort of conservation efforts are Taronga? Well, we've got a lot of different conservation projects going on. We've got some breeding projects within the zoo, and these might be foreign to Safari Live, of course, because they might be an Australian species or an Asian species. But we have a very successful breeding program with a frog called the Karula frog. Incredibly successful breeding program. The problem with a lot of frogs in the world, one of the greatest threats is a virus called chytrid virus. It's in many parts of the world, and one of our frogs, they got down to I think a number, and I need to probably be corrected here, but I think it was about 50 individuals. So we've got an incredible team working on that. One fellow in particular, Michael McFadden, who's a good friend and a great scientist working on that, and all the rest of the team, breeding them and then releasing them back into the wild, which is a great thing. Another bird in Australia called a regent honeyeater was down to extraordinarily low numbers, incredible reintroductions and breeding programs for that as well. And then if you go further abroad in Africa, we've got we support a lot of work going on with gorillas. We've supported a lot of work going on with chimpanzees in the wild as well, and in Asia as well. Huge support funding for Sumatran rhino breeding projects. We've had a very, very long-standing breeding program going with Sumatran tigers as well. And one of the animals that I'm very fond of, and I think people need to know and learn a lot more about, is pangolins. One of the most threatened and trafficked animals on the planet at the moment. And please, if you want to have a bit more of a look on that, do some research, because there's some really, really tricky stuff going on with pangolins. There's the pangolin that we support some projects on in Indonesia is called the Sunda pangolin, but the African pangolins are also incredibly threatened, and I would really, really suggest if anyone wants to do some further reading, look that up online and check it out. So we do some amazing stuff, and I'm really, really proud to be back working there, and that's where it all started for me, James, and everyone else. Just a little quick update of why I do what I do, and how privileged I am for this sort of stinky little ex-zookeeper to be allowed back on Safari Live. You might find it a bit weird that as an Australian working on this, well, the Safari Live team tolerate my bad humour and my accent, but Africa's been in my blood for a very long time, ever since I was a little kid, and I've done, you know, for the last sort of 25 years I've been working in and out of different African countries, but the zoo was where it all started for me. And when I got a job as a zookeeper at Taronga in Sydney, that was my dream come true. And then I just had a chance meeting just a chance meeting with some VIPs that came into the zoo, and I got the opportunity to show them around, and they asked if they could see the giraffes, and they just happened to be 4 executives from National Geographic Channel, and a gentleman that was there, Brian Smith, he had an idea that, because I was going to Africa anyway and I'd resigned and I was going to work on some rhinoceros programs in Zimbabwe, and he thought it might be a good idea that I take a video camera with me and send back a little story every week. Well, I did 72 of those and over 2 years, and I shot it myself in my hand. So it was the beginning of selfies back in sort of 1997 and 98 and over the next few years. So that was a pretty incredible experience, and that's where it all started for me, and it was a dream come true. So I'm very fortunate to be doing what I'm doing, but you know, I don't live here, so I'm a generalist. I've got some knowledge from the past and things like that, but you know, these experts like Jamie and Brent and James, that I just learn so much from them always, and all the other guides as well. I think, you know, South Africa's got some of the best guides on the planet, and I'm very, very fortunate to be in this magnificent country. I love this place. So let's just have a look what we can find here. It's a little bit quiet now. The temperature's rising a little bit. It was 12 degrees this morning, which is in the 50s Fahrenheit. So what I might do is just tootle along here and scratch around and see what else we can see. I'm going to try and make my way up to Buffelshoek Dam, which I haven't been to for a while. I don't even know if it's got water in it or not. But I doubt that it will, and we'll see what we can find. There's a lot of elephant tracks along here, so we'll see what we bump into. But let's cross back over to Jamie and see what she's up to, and we'll see you just now.
While Hayden toodles off, we're not toodling anywhere just yet. I'm still waiting for these elephants to decide exactly where they're going to go and what they're going to do, and also to make sure that there's no other elephants trailing where they were. So Herbert thinks they also ran like that because they caught the scent of the lions. Now, you wouldn't have been able to hear what we could hear, but it was the rough equivalent of about 25 Brents driving through the bush towards us. So that was the sort of the equivalent noise that we were experiencing racing towards us. So that's why we reacted like we did. But while we're sitting here waiting for our elephants to decide, and actually basically for them to walk into our scent stream, look what we found here, hidden beneath the surface of this termite mound soil. And some of them have been exposed, and I'll pick them up for in a moment and show you exactly what we've got. And look at what we found. A squirrel's stash of marula seeds. And I know they're marula seeds from the shape of them, and also the very, very characteristic telltale signs. So while I'm holding that, let me grab a stick with my left hand. Okay, my left hand's not very coordinated. We go here. In here, oh goodness gracious. So this characteristic place where the squirrel has used its teeth, specially adapted teeth, to crack open the husk of the marula seed and get to obviously the food store for the seed, and also all of the essential oils that are contained in this marula seed. So for an animal that can get into it, it is very, very nutrient rich. And this clever little squirrel, because I mean this has not come from, there's no marula trees where we're sitting. We've got a protector of a jackalberry, which is ideal. That's exactly what I want between me and an elephant herd if they decide to come through in this direction. But no marula trees. So this squirrel's gone and collected one by one, maybe from elephant dung, but also then from just off the ground from where the marula trees fruit, and he's come and he's dug it into a termite mound. And I also think what's happened here, because these are old, these are really, really old to me, filled with dirt, I think the termites actually might have assisted the squirrel in burying his stash. I mean, if I try and scrape through some of these, this is a seriously hard soil that we've got here. Okay, well clearly I wasn't meant to be an archaeologist. There we go, great gentleness, there's people cringing. Ew, there we go. Whew. got it out. These are old, and I think that actually they popped them. Chandra. Poor Chandra. He is the absolute best person to have on bushwalk because he is so steady and very, very, very strong. And he's also very perfectionist in terms of the shots he gets. However, sometimes he stands on things that shouldn't be stood on. Stood on? Is stood even a word? Stood on. Things that shouldn't be stood on, which includes some crumbly termite mound that just collapsed underneath his foot. You okay there, Chandra? That's, he's now stretched out in a very Olympian pose as he holds the camera. Well, anyway, that's all we had to show you because I'm actually going to stay here until the elephants have moved. They've moved off now. I think we've probably got another minute or so just sitting here assessing the situation, and then we can toddle off, as Hayden would say. So while we try and get down from this crumbling termite mound, and while Chandra demonstrates how he's going to stand up, which I'm very keen to see. Okay, fine, you show off. Did it perfectly smoothly. While we decide how to escape our elephant. Ouch, that was uncomfortable. Termite mounds are not comfortable. I don't know how leopards make this happen. Anyway, while we toddle off, as Hayden would say, let's go back to Brent for an update.
Well, these lions are giving us quite the conundrum. They've gone into Arathusa, and now it looks like they've come back. And there's only one little area we haven't checked yet, and that's between here, where we are now. So we've got tracks going into Arathusa there, but now the guys say further along it seems like they're coming back. And we only haven't checked this little section towards Sandy Patch. So fingers crossed, all Nkuhumas will be present and accounted for, and playing, and hopefully even munching on something. Remember, we're on a live African safari, and you can send us questions by using the email address questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. So I'm just listening to the Game Drive channel. Okay, so it sounds like the tracks are heading east in Arathusa, and this is the only area we haven't checked. So let's just go very carefully. See if we spot a kitty cat sleeping under a bush. No tracks just yet. So it's quite a thick area here. There's a little river system, lots of quarry thickets. So it could be a good spot if you've been walking all night and you're a bit tired, have a snooze. And also a good area for hunting last night. There's often quite a lot of animals in this area, sort of zebra, impala, buffalo. Yeah, just listening carefully. Okay, no luck yet. The tracks are still heading in our direction, so we're going to focus on really trying to find these lions for you. While we do that, HT's at one of his favorite spots in Nkuhuma.
Well, folks, one of my favorite spots in Nkuhuma, that's for sure, but wow, I've never seen it quite like this. This is incredibly dry. There's little pockets of probably pretty rank water down there. And Brian and I were just talking about it as we arrived. We've seen this go through so many changes, and particularly Brian has been here nearly 2 years since we started the live drives in this format in November 2014. And it's got to the point where it's so dry, there's not even a hippo in here at the moment. I can see a few birds down here, blacksmiths, plovers, and a few others, but very, very dry. You can start to see a couple of the pathways there where hippos have probably walked out, and there might be a hippo or two that comes back and sits in here, but this is a pretty low state of affairs when it comes to the water supply. So I just wanted to come up here and have a bit of a look. The sun is really bright, just reflecting straight off a piece of water there, so I do apologise if I'm squinting. It's really interesting to see, and nature just lets this go like this, you know. Got a question from Michael about is the climate in Australia and the climate in where we are in Africa similar? Well, I'm just covering that sun beaming into my eyes here. Michael, absolutely, we've got great similarities. We fall in a very, very similar area around the Earth, and if you have a look on a map or on a globe, you'll see the similarities between where the African continent and the Australian continent falls. Look, you know, rainfall, there's lots and lots of cyclical, weather, climates that change and weather that changes, and that's all normal. But coupled with, if you want to have a little bit more of an investigation of what's going on with scientists' prediction of El Nino, that is going to have an impact, and that's a sort of 2 to 5 year cyclical impact that occurs out in the Pacific and Indian Oceans, and without banging on about it too much, that can have a huge impact on weather patterns, and it definitely feels like it is. The word that I'm getting from a lot of people that live in South Africa that know much more about it than I do, because as I said, they live here, they've definitely seen this is normally a dry period of the year, the winter, but it's exceptionally dry on the shoulders of this season. So fingers crossed it all comes right. It always will. Animals change, animals adapt, and we do as well, but definitely to keep an eye on. Buffelshoek Dam, we've seen it nearly full. Little blacksmith's plover just down there, Bri. Just got a little blacksmith's plover down there. A common bird to see, but I just love them. I think they're fantastic, and they get their name from that beautiful little call, which he stopped. That little tink, 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 tink. Sounds like a blacksmith's anvil being hit by a hammer. Fantastic little bird, and always see those around the water points. Got a question from Lindsay, and Lindsay wants to know, do I have any advice for a budding zoologist? Well, Lindsay, my advice to anyone that wants to get into any sort of biological science or any wildlife industry or related area is passion. You know, have the passion. Obviously, people will think that the competition is greater in this day and age because there's a lot more people that have got access to all different forms of technologies, but that can also be an advantage for you, you know. You can get a lot of advice from people. I mean, for example, what we're doing here on Safari Live, asking the question live. But I definitely say, Lindsay, passion is really, really important. You know, as much as you possibly can. Volunteering is a huge thing as well. I think it's very important to try and volunteer, even if it's with a local organisation that's close to home with you, and you know, show your passion and just follow your dream as well, because it's very, very easy to get sort of pushed down and get, you know, suddenly think, oh, I just can't do it anymore because I'm not getting the breaks. Well, eventually you will. Who knows when that is for everyone, but eventually you will. And I think, Lindsay, the most important thing is just make sure you stay passionate. When you're doing something you love, it doesn't feel like work. that's for sure. But you know, sometimes you've also got to make adjustments to that. You might have to do something else for a while, which I've done many a time, and I'm sure everybody else watching can, or with us on the vehicle today, can empathise with. You do have to make changes in your life just to get through, but at the same time, just follow your heart, follow your passion, and stay optimistic as much as you can. And yeah, that's what I'd really advise. But thank you so much, Lindsay, and great to have you on board our vehicles today. So it's a little bit quiet, Brian and I were just mentioning before. That's one of the great things about the, well, many a great thing, but one of the special things about the bushwalk and what Jamie's doing now, because we don't get out of the vehicles with our, when we're on drive so much, you know, we might just get out of the vehicle to pick something up to show you, but the bushwalk has got an incredible ability to get down into those, the nuts and bolts and the nitty-gritty of the bush, whereas we're sort of scanning the area. We've got the bloodhound, Brent Leo Smith, looking for lion, and as I said before, if there's anyone that's going to find them today, he will. I'm just sort of familiarising myself with these up roads. I'm heading up towards the cheetah cut line at the moment, and just looking for any tracks or spoor on the road as well. We found a lot of elephant. There's a lot of elephant on the properties at the moment. Having a bit of an impact, I have to say. But great to have you on board. And yesterday, as I said, I asked the question to anyone, if you want to tweet in a comment about when your sort of love nature moment was, when, you know, just a little memory of what, you know, what was that moment that sticks in your mind that when you actually, all the sort of colours on the Rubik's Cube of nature came together for you, and whether it be a moment you had with your parents in a woodland, or a television show, or whatever it might have been. It's great to hear from everyone and just know what it was for you. Right, I'm going to ask right now, and I love doing this, the first person to tweet in right now and tell us to go left or right, you're going to govern what we do here. You're going to govern where we drive. I'll turn off for a second. It takes a couple of seconds to come through. And we are a junction. We're at a junction in our life, just like I was talking about with Lindsay before. You have to make a choice sometimes and go down two different paths. But I'm going to hand that over to you and tweet us in. The first person that we pick up, our wonderful directors and producers in the final control room, will send something through to me in a minute and tell us to go left or right. And you will dictate what we see. Sometimes we see loads, sometimes we don't. It doesn't matter. It's just great to come to that fork in a day and not know what the future is going to bring. So we often do this. Okay, that didn't take long. Justin, absolutely fantastic to have you on board. Justin said, can we go right? Justin, we can certainly go right. Let's do it. Thanks so much, Justin. Great to have you, mate. Just another little question from Justin. What's my top 5 favourite animals? Well, let's stick with African ones, because we're in Africa, and I've got lots of favourite animals, Justin. But in Africa, I'd have to say, okay, up there for me in the big cats is leopard. That's for sure. I'll try and do one from a couple of different groups of animals. From the herbivores, I'd have to say giraffe, even though I do love elephants and a lot of other creatures there. Let's go for a bird, and I'm going to say the lappet-faced vulture. One of my favourite birds. I just think they're absolutely brilliant. Let's go for a reptile, and I'm going to say boomslang, because I watched Brent Leo Smith with a boomslang last year. I think it was in Big Cat Week, and it was one of my most favourite interactions that's ever been on Safari Live. He was on bushwalk, and He was with this boomslang for, I'm telling you, it was, if anyone saw it, they'll know what I'm talking about, but normally the snake will take off or whatever, but this boomslang was just in the tree and with him for about 15 or 20 minutes. It was an amazing encounter, and I love watching that. So boomslang is my reptile, and as my insect, I think I'm going to say African millipede, because I just think they're the most coolest millipedes in the world. They're so big, and I just do love millipedes and how wonderful they are. So they're probably my top 5 for the moment. So Justin, thank you for the question. Right, so it's a little quiet out here, folks, I have to say, but that's all good. That's how it works. That's the theatre of the bush. We are just mere sort of members of the audience, really, and watching it as it unfolds every day. But you know what we should do? I think we should cross to Jamie now and see what she's up to and what other wonderful things she's looking for. We'll see you now.
Can you believe it? We are back on a termite mound. We have been chased up onto a termite mound by our second herd of elephants of the day. So, all is going well here on the bushwalk. Here's what's happening. We've been trying to track lions. Lions have been crossing backwards and forwards from Djuma to Arathusa. Their scent is everywhere. The wind's picked up, so it's blowing very, very harshly. The elephants came running once again towards us when we were walking in this block, so we have skedaddled. Quite literally, I think that's the best description. We have skedaddled. And we're sitting on a termite mound waiting for the elephants to decide what to do. Most of them have gone. I just wanted to sit a little bit longer because they would have heard us. So sometimes what happens with elephants is they get curious, especially on a windy day where they can hear, but they can't smell what they're hearing. So they would have heard us shuffling along, and I'm a bit concerned they're going to try and come back around and approach us from downwind just to see what's going on. So we're waiting here for another minute, and then we are going to skedaddle again off back towards an open area because this wind has picked up. It's now howling, it's blowing grass and hair and frightening the animals. Plus there's lions coming back this way and apparently more elephants coming this way. It's just time for us to go, I think. What we have decided, what we have discovered, Balanaiti's Zoe's Road is the home of the elephants this morning and not the home of the people. We will be leaving. So while we make our way away from all of the elephants on Djuma, let's go back to Brent and find out an update from him about those lions.
So we've had a bit of success. Now, the lions are not far from us here. They're just down the road. But they look like they're about to cross into Vuyatela. So what I'm going to do is I'm letting the guys from the west who can't follow into Vuyatela get a view of the lions before they cross. And then we will go and follow them once they go into Djuma. So they're probably about 100 meters away from us. And hopefully they're going to cross in the next little while. So we're just standing by here. And I don't know how many lions, there's males there, whether all the cubs are present. From the tracks it looked like all the cubs were around. Well, looks like they might have gone for a snooze in Sibamili. We might get a view across the boundary. But as I said, there's 3 vehicles in there now, so we're just going to stand by here. So while we wait to get a view of the incredible Nkuhumas, let's go see what HT's up to.
Folks, I've just pulled up here just to show you some of the impact that the elephants are having at the moment. And just to talk a little bit about that, you can see the size of this tree. It's certainly not a baby or a sapling. It's quite a big tree, and that's been pushed over by an elephant. Now the elephant would push that over. It's a marula. Pushed it over to get the leaves at the top, or any leaves that were left, or any tender young sort of twigs at the top. And you know how varied the elephant's diet is. They eat everything from bark to leaves to grass to roots to the fruits to seed pods, all different things. And At the moment, because the grass and the vegetation and the other smaller shrubs are so low, we are finding that the animals are pushing over a lot of trees at the moment. So it does change the habitat, and obviously in a managed area like a national park or a private game reserve, you do have to consider those things and maybe take some action, which we are experimenting up on quarantine at the moment with some different substances that repel the elephants to just to keep them away from those trees. But it will change the landscape, and over time that landscape will end up being not as wooded and probably more grasses, and then that in turn comes with another selection of creatures. So look, it is an impact, there's no doubt about it. We're seeing a lot of it, and we are monitoring it, and all the sort of management teams that are in Sabi Sands and all the reserves, they keep a very close eye on that. But coming back after 7 months, I'm definitely seeing that impact. So I just got a message from Michael that said that his moment was when he was about 3 or 4 years old, I think that was in the comment, and when he was watching Big Cat Diaries, which is another great program, and you had that major moment. Michael, welcome aboard, fantastic to have you with us, mate. And those sorts of things really do change your world when you have that major moment. You just watch and you think either A, I'd love to do that, or A, I'm hooked on that program, or whatever. And they do have a great change in your life. So thanks again, Michael, for being on board, and your comment there, and your little moment that you had where your love nature switch was flicked on by a TV program. One of mine, I mentioned it yesterday, was a program called Wild Kingdom in America that was broadcast in Australia. There was this great guy that I just used to think, wouldn't it be great to be him, by the name of Marlon Perkins. He had a great big white moustache, wore safari suits, used to stand in front of Kilimanjaro and talk about vast herds of wildebeest galloping across the plains. I loved him. I just thought he was a legend. He was great. And rest in peace, Marlon. I think we just had a message from Alyssa. Just let me confirm that is the right person's name. I do apologise. Control, was that Alyssa? Okay, sorry, thank you very much. Alyssa, or Liz for short. Lovely to have you on board. Alyssa, your moment was watching Steve Irwin, wow, do some work with crocodiles, and yeah, Steve, shame, Steve Irwin, again, rest in peace, but you know, Steve was a really interesting character, amazing guy that did a lot to engage kids, again, and also in his legacy, I have to say, he has left an amazing amount of vast areas of land that he's protected in his time. So hats off to him as well. Hats off to everyone that's ever had an impact, even if it's just been in your environment. So thank you, Alyssa, for your moment too. That's really great to hear. I think you can also do incredible small things in your local area. Try and investigate what you can do back home, and I think Safari Live is a great catalyst for change in people's worlds. If you might not be able to get to Africa, or you are on drive with us right now, so I hope you feel like you are. You're definitely with us, that's for sure, and we feel like we've got the biggest safari vehicle on the planet. But if you want to make an impact after in your local area, it's really great just to go and investigate that. Try and join up with a volunteer group, or help some organisation in your local area and have an impact. Because you know what, local to global to local is really important as well. We've got some incredibly beautiful creatures that we have here on these reserves, but there's some beautiful animals where you are as well, wherever you are watching in the world, and it's really important to protect your own habitats and your own wildlife, because that's where your kids are going to have their first memorable moments. Really important stuff. I think the handle was Mobile Paddy, if I've got it right. Mobile Paddy, thanks. Thank you very much. Mobile Paddy, you want to know whether the condition of Nkuhuma is worse or better than I expected. Look, I knew that it was going to be dry, because it always is this time of the year, and that's what one would expect. One would hope that it wasn't anything but dry, because that's the way the seasonal changes work. But I think the thing that I'm just noticing is the impact of elephants, mate, really, on it. And I don't think, as I said, you know, nature will always right itself, but always a little duiker in the road there. Oh, they don't stay for very long. Let's see if we can find this little duiker. It's a little common duiker. Oh, and a little steenbokkie just ran across the road there as well. This little duiker. Let's see if Brian can get a little shot just through there. Can you see, Brian? Just pulled up there. Beautiful, beautiful little creature. We don't get to see them very often, because they do exactly what it says on the tin. They, in Afrikaans, duiker or diver, they will just head off into the bush, and then there's a little steenbok, I think, is it, Brian? Yeah, there's a little steenbok behind there as well, which is very, very cool to see. Two different species in the one shot, which is just beautiful. And you know, I do love duiker. I find them just such a special creature, and we don't see them very often. And she's just, or is it he? I can't see in my monitor. I can't see. I've got sunshine right in my eyes here. But the most important thing is we've got a beautiful little picture of that beautiful, beautiful animal, and standing there staring straight at us, which is so cool as well. Look at that. Thinking we can't see her or it. I can't see if it's a male or my monitor has got sunshine beaming all over it at the moment. But really cool to see these little creatures out having a morning browse. Very comfortable with us at the moment as well. Oh, that's super cool. They really do. They've got that lovely sort of, there you go. Look at that lovely gut. They dive through the bush there. That was so nice to see. That was a lovely little sighting. Oh, fantastic. I do love antelope. My favourites as well. And then we've got a little steenbok. Alright, what we might do is go across to Brent and see what he's up to and get a little update from him, and we'll see what other little creatures we might find around here. We'll see you soon.
So unfortunately, the lions decided to head towards One-Eye Pan for a drink. So they were on their way to cross the boundary in front of us, but then they changed their mind and went north. But there's a good chance they will still cross before the end of the safari or on the sunset safari. So we are still in the area. We decided to just kind of a quick look around Sandy Patch and see what creatures are about here. So far, not too much. And we are hoping for some out in the open areas. Remember, questions at wildearth.tv or hashtag Safari Live if you'd like to ask us any questions. And of course, sometimes I'd like to do a bit of role reversal, and I'll ask you guys a question, and I think that's a perfect time for that today. What are we going to quiz on today? What do you think, Vim?
I'm thinking about lithium-ion batteries.
Looking?
Yeah, I'm thinking of lithium-ion batteries. I don't think that's relevant.
I know. Okay, Vim's thinking about some technical battery, which is probably not a good one for me to quiz you on because I won't know the answer. But let's think of a nice quiz to do. Let's think of it. Let's make it a little bit tough today. Oh, and there's not much out in the open. Very quiet out in this section of the world today.
And look at what we have found here. Brent is currently hot on the trail finding the Nkuhuma lionesses, but apparently they managed to find something else here last night. We know it is them for a couple of reasons, and I think they were 100% successful at some point during the evening. However, they were successful in a way that they got something.
Well, they kept us on the run and hunting for most of the morning, but here they are, the Nkuhuma pride. I can only see 4 females. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cubs. So the 5th female with the 3 littlies. Oh, look, we're being stalked, Vim. Suddenly decided to charge at us, that little one. Oops. Oh, they're so playful this morning. So if you hear that click, click, it's just me taking a few pictures. Oh, look at that. Tackle time. Let's see if that tail proves too irresistible to jump on. Oh, big tackle. Now that lionesses look like they might have heard something. Just stopping and listening. I'm just trying to see if I can hear, see what they've heard. They are going into a particularly difficult area now, but we will stick with them. Let's have a look. We're just going to have to plan which way we're going to go. And they might stop in the shade. It's quite warm already. FMF, just off to the northeast of me now. And they might stop in the shade for a little bit, or they might keep moving.
Sorry about this, everybody. Perhaps something has pushed over the Gauri repeater, just like the elephants have pushed over this marula tree. Our technical team is rushing around madly trying to fix it, and we'll be back with you as soon as we can.
Hi everyone, we are experiencing technical difficulties, but please bear with us. Our engineering department and our tech department
So unfortunately we experienced some tech difficulties. That's one of the things about being live and in the bush, but our tech crew is on it and not asleep like the lions behind me. Hopefully we'll be back with you shortly. Sorry about that, guys. We're back with the Nkuhumas and cubs. So off. So it looks like they've stopped for a bit of a rest. Now we could hear some zebras not too far from here. I think that's what the lioness heard a bit earlier. But it is getting warm, so they might rest up here for the rest of the day. Oh. Mom, I'm hungry. So you just gotta be on the radio. Aubrey. Aubrey and Nkuhuma's crossed on vertical axis. We're just to the north of Sandy Patch. Sorry, I didn't copy, but there's only 2 stations here if you're interested. So Greg's wondering, how is the injured cub keeping up? It looks like that injury wasn't as serious as we initially thought. I'm trying to see where it is. But all the cubs I've seen are walking quite well this morning.
No, this one is the first time we saw this one.
Okay, they're going back towards where we came from. Let's just zoot around. did she go? She's just moving deeper into the shade. Now going back. Look at them. So that's 1, 2, 3. And there are 2 more cubs off to the right slightly, suckling on mom. And none of them seem to be having too much of a problem walking. And they are incredibly resilient animals. How's that, Vim? There we go. So there's the other 2. So we'll wait to see if they move. But I think it was one of those 3 cubs. One looked like it might have a slight limp, but they are incredibly quick to recover from muscle injuries. Ow! I'm trying to see what's happening. The other lionesses look like they're on the move, so I think she's going to do the same. Now, there were some zebra we could hear up ahead. Look at greedy gutters. Look at that, isn't that just too cute? See, there's the one, actually there's the one, looks like it's got a bit of a limp, but still a massive recovery and improvement from when we last saw that little cub walking around. Okay, looks like they're on the move again. Hold on, isn't this exciting? Now, while we try and get around to where these lions are moving to, let's go to another cat and some more cubs.
Well, we've come back to this beautiful, beautiful leopard. Karula is just laying there surveying the scene. Her babies are just about to come up and pounce on her. I think we're going to see something lovely just here. Oh, isn't that great? Perfect timing to come back, folks. Isn't that great? Her little 7-month-old cubs. Gosh, that is just fantastic. We've been waiting here for this to happen. Exactly what is happening. Some of this maternal care is what I always love to see. And she's definitely a top mum. She's got 2 cubs and she's moving down to back to where that kill is that she's stashed. Here comes the other cub now, Brian, just down the same location. So that's fantastic to see. How beautiful are they? And this little guy's going to stalk and pounce on his mum and his brother or sister. I can't quite make out who's who of the 2. There's a male and a female. And just watching there, watching mum and other sibling play, and I think there could be a little stalk on. There's a very, very dangerous cub there. We've got a question from Lou Butterfrog. Questioning my favourite baby animal in the bush. Well, yes, I do actually. I have to tell you, it's elephant. Baby elephants are just incredibly funny to watch and wonderful to be around. And if you've got a comfortable herd, a breeding herd, with the females are comfortable with us being in their proximity or in their presence, it is really lovely to see the little baby elephants. But thank you very, very much, Lou, for your question and welcome aboard. We've got at the moment we're with another beautiful cub or beautiful baby, and that is one of Karula's cubs. And he's just watching his brother or sister play with his mum down. We can't quite see because they're in a very tricky spot. But when I say tricky spot for us, absolutely fantastic spot for them. It's down in a drainage line or a dry creek bed down there, and she has stashed the kill that she made yesterday morning. She hasn't put it in a tree, and the reason for that is she's got it down there for her cubs to eat. It's quite difficult for Brian to see. I'm in a really tricky spot. I'm sort of torn between two lovers here. I can just see a little bit of interaction happening down there, but I've also got this beautiful vision of this other baby up the top, this other cub. So when this other little cub goes down and has a bit of a pounce, we might reposition ourselves. But look at that. That is just a miniature version of his mum. Absolutely beautiful, 7 months old. And I don't know if you caught the drive earlier when we were talking to the schools, but I sort of compared the weight of these little guys when they're born, and it's about, I'm really apologise about my conversions here, but ounces to grams. I'm going to try for about 600 grams is about 20 ounces roughly, so about the weight of 3 oranges, you know, when they're born. That's a big cub, or biggish cub. But now they're getting up to some really great size and getting some great condition on them as well. Got a nice question from Linda. He's moving off now. We might just reposition. But Linda, your question is, how long ago was the first time that I met Karula? Well, it was back in 2014. I met Mr. Q, Quarantine, the leopard, the male leopard, well before I met Karula. But then I met Karula in that same stint here, which was the 2014 Big Cat Live. Big Cat Week, sorry, here, and she's just incredible. She's just one of these leopards that so habituated, so conditioned, so tolerant of us, and knows that we're no threat to her. We've seen her come through with her cubs. We've seen ups and downs. We've seen so much with her, and she just tolerates. Last night, I'm not sure if you were watching, but I had the privilege of having a bit of a warm-up drive for today, and went out with the team, and we were just sitting over here, Brian and I, and we were sitting in a location where we were well away from her, and she decided to scale the tree right next to us. Now, we would never go that close to a leopard in a tree for fear of disturbing her or whatever, or changing her behaviour, but she came to us. So she was at our eye level, only about 15 feet away from us. It was a major, lovely moment. I'm going to try and reposition for us. Thank you for your question. So it was about 2 years ago, but many of you watching know Karula much better than I do, and have been with her ever since she was born about 12 years ago. So while I'm repositioning, we might link to Jamie and see what she's up to. Something interesting, I am sure. We'll see you now.
Oh, I'm up a termite mound, if in terms of what we're up to you wanted to know what we were doing. We've skedaddled, as I said, to... Oh no, I dropped what I wanted to show you. And keep it there. We've skedaddled to quarantine in the open areas around Zoe's, just so that we stay out of the way of anything that might happen to be moving in this direction, particularly because this wind is still... It's gusting, which is even worse, because you never know when to expect the next gust. It doesn't seem to be able to pick a direction. And it just gets more and more unsafe when you're in thick vegetated areas. Then at the same time, you've also got to be careful, because when you walk across open areas, you're very much lulled into a false sense of security. But you actually don't have safe places unless you plan your route. You don't necessarily have safe places that you can race off to, like termite mounds or big trees. So it's important never to be lulled into a false sense of security, especially after the morning that we've had, which has been fun, but has involved many, many elephant approaches. Now, One day I'm going to fall getting down a termite mountain like this, but not today. It'll happen one day. What I wanted to show you was something many of you have seen before, and that is the large devil thorn seed, which very cleverly, and of course there's lots of different approaches in terms of seed dispersal. This one is perhaps one of the most brutal, which is basically stick into the bottom of somebody's foot. Usually an elephant, or maybe into the gaps between a buffalo hoof or an impala hoof, but mostly it'll be something like an elephant or a rhino or a human being, because this does stick very, very well into the bottom of one's shoe, which is actually how I found this one. I'm going to fall down now. That wasn't very coordinated. Now, essentially, it does just that to the bottom of an elephant's foot or something similar. And by that way, the seed is dispersed wherever that animal happens to go. Eventually, at some point, it will scuff its foot, and the seed will disappear and go off elsewhere. So a completely different approach, for example, to our marula seeds. And this is actually a really perfect example of the marula seeds and where they've been eaten by squirrels. But instead of having a nice nasty spike that sticks into somebody's foot, the marula tree produces a delicious edible fruit that all of the animals like to eat, particularly elephants, and they will swallow it whole, and then, as we spoke about before, with their ineffective digestive systems, basically defecate out half a marula fruit. And then their seeds have got homemade fertilizer, and they've been distributed. And then we've got lots of course, the grasses tend to focus more on wind pollination, but we can't really talk about that right now because there's not very much grass, really, or indeed grass seeds anywhere around the place. So we'll keep going, we'll keep looking for interesting... Actually, you know what? Where's that marula seed gone? I want to keep it. It was quite a nice example of one. Yeah, I'm going to keep it. Because it always looks... If you get it at the right angle, it almost looks like some little animal's skull with the eye holes. Anyway, I'm going to keep that, and we shall carry on. Now, sticking to the open areas, and the first thing that you notice about this particular spot is the change in vegetation and the arrival of what are known as bush encroacher species. Oh, by the way, Herbert has just told us, he said to us, if you ever find yourself walking in the bush, you don't ever want to walk on something like this. Step around it. He said you must go around it, you must be careful, because he said this is where the black mambas like to go. Now this is one of their favorite spots to go and hide, apparently, which I didn't know, but sort of makes sense. You have this instinctive, as a human being, you could call it instinctive avoidance of picking up things, going into wood piles, things where you can't really see exactly what's happening, but at the same time you know that something would probably choose that as a nice hiding spot. That wasn't actually what I was going to talk to you about. I was going to talk to you about these sicklebush trees, because we've got a whole range of them here. Now, sicklebush is known as the bush encroacher species. Herbert's just been telling me that you can whip up a toothache potion from their roots, and that probably really does work. They probably do have painkiller properties. These are sicklebushes, also known as one of the flat tire trees, because these thorns are actually modified branches. They're not technically thorns, they're spines. Thorns are modified leaves. These are relatively small ones, but you see how it's growing. If you look, you get an idea of this area as a whole. You've got sicklebush, 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 and a couple of acacias as well. And that immediately tells us something about this area. It tells us that at some point this area was actually damaged in some way, probably by overgrazing. Now bear in mind that at one point this area, obviously it was wild at one point, but after that it was used as farmland. Quarantine clearings was where cows were quarantined. And what ultimately happens then with farming practices and with ineffective farming practices is that overgrazing messes up the grass balance with the tree balance, and you get what are known as these bush encroacher species, usually the sicklebush. Now elephants, if you've got elephants around, they help to maintain that cover, but no self-respecting elephant eats a sicklebush this size. Maybe if a sicklebush is about my height and still quite thin and bendy and green, they will consider clearing it away. These guys, absolutely not, and they're very, very difficult to get rid of. You have to if you want to try and... We wouldn't do it here, because this isn't as serious. I mean, I've been into sicklebush thickets where you can't see your hand in front of your face almost. And if you do want to rehabilitate an area, you actually have to seriously drag, pull, uproot, burn afterwards, because otherwise what you do is you create a seed bank for the next set of sickle bush. So whilst they are valuable trees in high numbers, they are definitely not what you want to see around here. So this is an area that's clearly been damaged in some way. It's also where you've got the change of the soil types, because it's the end of the seep line and the beginning of a crest. So oh goodness, dancing around sickle bush. Let's see, and this, just by the way, these are the seeds. And I've seen bushbuck. We saw it the other day at Voyatela Lodge. Let me get into the sun. I've seen a bushbuck put an entire one of these in his mouth. He looked like, you know when you have a gobstopper or something similar, or you take a mouthful of apple or something that's too large. His cheeks were bulging as he munched away. And it was sort of sticking out of his cheek like this. They make great Christmas decorations, by the way, if you spray paint them and give them a sort of a different color. Homemade Christmas decorations work particularly well. Alright, already making our way. The wind has dropped now. I feel like we made a fuss about nothing. I'm sure you're wondering, because it's been a morning where you have been spoiled for choice in terms of baby cats. Let's go back to Brent and his.
We're still sitting with the Nkuhuma pride, and it looks like they found a good spot to rest for the day on the edge of an acacia thicket. And there's a pile of cubs all sleeping with one of the lactating females. Well, there's one or two cubs still feeding, one on the one female and the other on the other. There we go. And the rest of the pride flopping over. I've been on the move quite a bit this morning, and judging from, I saw them yesterday, it looks like they have definitely eaten something last night, but something quite small. And the one female still got a bit of pinkish around her neck. You can't really see it at the moment, but I think they did make a kill last night. Nothing particularly big though. And I noticed, and we've heard some zebra calling not far from here, and they picked up their ears immediately. But now it's a bit warm to be hunting. It's time for snoozing in the shade. Oh, they are just too sweet, even when they're snoozing. There's two still feeding. Oh, one lioness looked like she heard something. Popped her head up. Now there's quite a strong wind, or not strong, a stiff breeze blowing. They might have picked up a scent as well. But of course their hearing is infinitely better than ours. And lions are opportunists, so if something happened to wander in here... Oh, look at this, there's definitely something up. Look at that focus. Now, quite often they might hear something and then just go back to snooze. But if an animal happened to wander in here, they would take advantage of it. They are incredible opportunists. Oh, Amber in Colorado is wondering how far a male lion's roar can be heard from. From a human being, you can hear a male lion's roar at about 10 to 15 kilometers, depending on wind and weather. But from a lion, they can probably hear it for about over 20. But I don't think they were reacting to a lion roar. It's unlikely for lions to roar at this time of the day. Now, What7, who's a brand new viewer on Safari Live, a huge welcome, is wondering, do lions help raise each other's cubs? Yes, they do. The genetic strength in lions is in the females, in the pride. So all the females will help with the hunting and are very tolerant of the little cubs, even if they happen not to be their babies. quite a peaceful scene now. It's quite warm, the cubs are going to snooze. It's bad. Unfortunately, Mike's got a flat tire next to the lions, and it's a really flat tire. It's not even a half flat tire, it's a dead tire. I'm glad it's not me. I don't have to figure out how to change a tire next to some lions. I've done it before. And I think I'm going to give Mike a hand quickly, so while we do that, let's go see what HT's up to.
So we left Karula, and how cool is that? I knew Brent would find those cats. Brent is, I call him the bloodhound. So Brent's with the Nkuhumas, which is brilliant. We were with Karula. I decided to move on because we've had a really beautiful morning with Karula and just let her be for a while. She moved up into a very, very tricky place for Brian to get any pictures there, and I couldn't manoeuvre the vehicle rather than going over the edge and down into the drainage line. And we just wanted to let them be, and I think that's one of the great things that we do. And all the people that watch animals or view animals around here in Sabi Sands, you give them some space, you know, just let them be after a while. We've had our time. We've had some beautiful videos. You know what's up here. You always get some surprises, even if it's just a great sort of overview of the area. And we've had a really lovely morning. I have to say, if you were with us right from the start this morning on the school special, thank you very, very much for being so patient and listening to all the sort of relations, all the relationships I was trying to build, and the team were trying to build with their schooling and their curriculum and things like that, and how important it is, and also just how wonderful it is to be back. I really, really appreciate all the support and everyone and all the lovely kind words people have said, and it's just a great feeling to be sitting in this vehicle driving around with Brian Joubert on the wonderful Nkuhuma Game Reserve here in Sabi Sands, South Africa. I just got a message from, I think your handle is Crafting Princess. What's the best part of this job? Well, I'm going to have to give you a few parts. I don't think I can give you one. You always find that with me. It's very hard to ask a simple question, but I'll give you a convoluted answer back because I just get so excited about being here. There's certain interactions that you have with wildlife that you never forget, and the wildlife is obviously a big draw card and a wonderful thing to come back to. But it's also the people, the team, everyone that you come in contact with on Safari Live and the greater area, the people that manage here, Candace and Mike Grover and Yuri Mormon and Pippa and all the people and all the different reserves, Arethusa, Cheetah Plains and all the guides. There's a wonderful human interaction that occurs, as well as being in the presence of these animals and in this habitat. So it's a two-part sort of answer for me. It's people and wildlife, and it's always been like that for me, and I learnt that one goes in hand with the other. You cannot have one without the other, and in this managed area, whether it's us delivering this experience to everyone that's joined us this morning, and when you do, or it's what goes on behind the scenes. There's an incredible team here in final control and all the people that make this happen. So, Crafting Princess, I hope I've answered your question for you. Important things, that animals work with people and people work with animals. Conservation is all about that. Conservation for me is conversation, and you really do have to make sure that conversation continues, because animals can just look after themselves. If they've got the habitat, they're fine. It's when us little humans come into contact with it, that's what conservation's about. So I am going to say farewell for today. Thank you very, very much for joining us this morning on Safari Live, and I'm going to link over back to Jamie and just see what she's up to, but I'm going to jump in the saddle again this afternoon. From Brian, the Thumb, and myself, fantastic guys. We'll see you real soon.
Mustn't touch the tree that the spider is in. I'm trying to get a good view of him because he is so, or she, is so amazingly camouflaged. Beautiful bright green and hidden in the sun, with long legs, and just looking at the anatomy of the spider, admittedly upside down from my perspective, but looking at her anatomy, I would say this is very much an active hunter. So like our jumping spiders and like our baboon spiders, and unlike things like funnel webs or tent web or community spiders, this is a spider that will spend its time actively seeking out whatever food it can find. And sitting on this acacia tree, it's the perfect green for the leaves. Oops, sorry. Don't run away. Try not to put my shadow on it either. There it goes. Very, very rapid movement, like a jumping spider, but without this robust legs. So an active hunter that might be looking for things like ants, aphids, whatever else happens to be attracted to this acacia tree. And the thing about acacia trees, particularly red acacias, although this is not a red acacia, I'm not sure which one this is, but the thing about them is that they have really very nutrient-rich sap, and that is exuded very regularly, which in turn means that it is a host for all kinds of interesting little insect species, and also where our bush babies will go straight towards on a night spent foraging, especially in winter, of course, when there are hardly any insects for them to catch and collect. So there we go for the end of our bushwalk, a lovely spider sighting to finish off what's been a really lovely morning out on foot. It is time for us to say our farewells, and a big thank you to Gendre, as well as a big thank you to Herbert. Thank you, Herbie. Well done for getting us out of the elephants. And a big thank you to all of you for joining us. We're going to make our way home because my stomach's been rumbling consistently for the last 3 hours, and it's time for some of Amanda's cooking. We'll see you in a few short hours. Hope you had fun this morning. Bye-bye.
So there we go. The lines are all around. And it looks like they're moving into some thick thorns. A nice shade for the rest of the day. Okay, so they're heading right into that thicket. The one lioness is still out. Hello, big girl. So a nice spot for them to spend the day. Really thick shade. You can hear them talking in the thickets. Low contact call. You can hear a Franklin spotted them. There we go, you can just hear the cubs in the thicket. Ow! Look at this, they're just moving slowly. Hello, little ones. I might head off. There we go. I might have heard something. I did hear some elephants. So maybe they're just trying to move away from where the elephants were. Now with little cubs, obviously you don't want elephants getting angry and charging around with you. Oh, looks like they're all on the move now. They're looking a bit nervous because of the elephants, so we're not going to stay with them. We'll let them calm down and find them again on the sunset safari. So Margaret is saying, are there new times? Well, Margaret, this week there are new times. We'll be starting at 6 a.m. Central African time. We are doing a couple of days special drive for the Taronga Zoo, and it's a centenary year. We're taking a whole bunch of Australian schools on safari. I just got to let everyone know that those lions have moved. Those Nkuhumas have moved east into the block between the Buffalo Cut Line and Sandy Patch Road. I'm going to be leaving the area. So here we go. Hopefully we'll be able to find them on the sunset safari. I'm pretty confident we will. I don't think they're going to move too far. I just think they want to get out of that area, which is a sort of thoroughfare for elephants on their way to Sydney's waterhole. And behind the lines, if they'd been paying attention, there were a whole bunch of impala that have moved out onto the open area. But we know those Nkuhuma girls, they like buffalo. So it's been fantabulous having you guys on the Sunrise Safari, and also great to have those Australian schools and Taronga Zoo on board for the first hour of the show. The lions did keep them and I busy, but fortunately our tracking turned into finding at the end of the drive. So a lovely view of those Nkuhuma cubs, and I'm definitely sure one of us will definitely try to find them on the sunset safari. And I'm sure Karula will still be around as well. Hopefully there's still a bit of meat left, and if not, she's just going to go for a drink deeper into Juma. Another lovely winter's day here in the South African Lowveld, and in a few hours we're going to be doing it all again. So we're really looking forward to you joining us, and hopefully we can find a lot more interesting cats and creatures and bugs and even dung. So from them and myself and the rest of the Safari Live crew, have a fantastic rest of your day or night or whatever it might be where you are in the world.